I would be stressed out if I was a convention goer, and I would be annoyed if people were Girl, we gotta talk about this convention because there's so much happening. I don't even know where to start. So on the weekend of May 3rd, which is the first weekend of May 2025, I attended KagaraCon. It is a small anime convention and I had the time of my life there. I went as Mabel Pines and I Hoshino. I performed in the Idol Fest. I hosted a panel. It was a very fun time. And I love to talk about conventions. I love attending conventions. I'm a seasoned convention goer, as you can see by my collection of badges. I have more off screen that you guys can't see, but I post a lot on TikTok and Instagram about my experiences at conventions. I've made a couple videos talking about conventions. So I like to consider myself a fairly seasoned convention goer. So when I heard information about this new book convention and just how disastrous it was, I knew I had to sit down and talk about it with you guys because what is happening? This convention was called A Million Lives Book Festival. I'm sure some people have been seeing YouTube videos pop up about this, some TikToks, and just so much conversation happening around this topic because there's so much happening with this convention. It's amazing that how poorly it was ran. It's amazing how it came to be. This convention is marketed as a book talk convention, and book talk is just essentially the book reading community on TikTok. Very, very popular. You usually can find a book talk section at Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, so on and so forth. So this convention was advertised as the perfect event to make friends, which is not anything new to market a convention as. Conventions are notoriously a place to make friends, meet people that are like-minded, so on and so forth. My eye is so itchy. So eyelashes make my eyes so itchy and I'm literally like losing my mind right now. This convention, like any other convention, it promised vendors, artists, panels, meeting instead of voice actors, it was authors. It promised to indie authors a chance to grow your audience and sell your work. There was a content creation room, which I would like to speak on that in a second. There was cosplay meetups, very normal. A cosplay competition, also known as a hall contest, and a ball. And a ball is what they had, girl. This event was also advertised for romance and fantasy authors, readers, the romance and fantasy community of books. So it promised a lot. I've been to book conventions and it's pretty interesting to see how large the reading community is, especially now. That sounds so stupid, but I mean, like, you don't really consider the fandom behind a book or an author until you attend an event like this. So it's really cool to see like different communities kind of take initiative into creating these like safe spaces for fans of similar authors, books, so on and so forth. This convention is brand new. This is the first year that it ran, and you know, it seemed to promise a lot. It seemed to promise a lot of good things, a lot of basic things that you would get at a convention. It had a lot of promise for all attendees, whether you're a vendor, author, or just a normal convention goer. This convention was held May 2nd and May 3rd in Baltimore, Maryland, so this is a very fresh story. Things are still developing, coming out. A lot of stuff was not resolved yet, so I'm just talking about information that has developed since, as the time I'm filming this, May 11th, Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day, Mom! So I apologize if my information is not up to date depending on when you're watching this. I needed to talk about this because it just amazed me how this convention was ran. But this convention was ran in Baltimore, Maryland at the Baltimore Convention Center, so you know, we got a promising location, promising site for the convention, and this was ran by Archer Management, and the con head was an author that goes by Grace Williams. We will get to her later, but she is the name that is mostly tagged on this convention. One of the things that really caught my attention first about this convention was the badges. You know, badges, normal thing for conventions. You get one at a convention, it shows that it's kind of like a little trinket you get to take home with you. So it's nothing new that conventions have badge tiers. I know Anime New York City has the single days, I should do it this way, the single days, the full weekend, and then recently they had ANYC Plus added, which ANYC is you get a full weekend, you get primary access to panels, you get primary access in autograph lines or something, you get to enter Artist Alley first, like you get special perks. So convention badge tiers are nothing new. It just interested me that this is a brand new convention and they had badge tiers right off the bat. And what mainly like had me shook is the prices. This is a brand new convention. I've had my fair share of attending new conventions. I've had my fair share of attending very small conventions, and they've never been this expensive. Never. So I was really shook. So the first badge tier we had was Page Turner. It is $50, which is usually at new conventions, $50 is the highest tier badge price. So this is the base tier. Like this is like bare minimum, like what you get at every convention. So bear with me. The Page Turner tier had access to the vendor hall. You had access to cosplay meetups. You got to enter the content creation room, but you were only allowed to enter the content creation room on May 3rd, which was the Saturday of the convention. And usually content creation rooms are held off for only people that are invited as like content creators, as publicists, things like that. People that post content online to promote the event. I've been invited to Anime New York City a few times as an influencer, and I got access to the content creator room. And it was usually very strictly held off to just content creators. So it was interesting to me that this was open to everybody, but again, nothing crazy, nothing crazy. Next is the Cloudwalker tier. Girl, she's $150. That's crazy to me. So the Cloudwalker tier, it promised all of the above, vendor things, the cosplay meetup, so on and so forth. It also promised a swag bag, which is a bag of exclusive merchandise made for specific people that bought the tier. You also got access to the content creation room for both days of the convention, which was a Friday and a Saturday. And then the Dream Maker tier, which is $250. Dream Maker tier got access to all of the above, again, vendors, content creator room, cosplay activities, so on and so forth. You also got the swag bag, and the kind of prize part of this tier was access to the Lavender Romance Ball. The ball, girl, we're gonna get to that in a minute. So this convention really promised a lot of fun things, and if I was attending this convention, I'd be pretty excited, especially a ball, getting to dress up and like feel really pretty and feel like I'm in a fantasy novel for the day. Yeah, girl, tag me in, get me in the game. This convention was anything but fantasy. It seemed more like a psychological horror type deal. So one of the big red flags that came out of this convention for a lot of people was the fact that badges were discounted by 40% leading up to the convention. Badges were dropped in price. And in my experience, convention badges do not drop in price right before the convention, they rise in price. Because the whole gig of convention badges is that they're the cheapest when they first go on sale and the most expensive right before the convention. It's just some sort of like capitalism thing, girl, I don't know. So it was very odd to me at least that these badges were significantly dropped in price, and it definitely told vendors and other attendees like something is off. Especially if they're dropping the price on these badges right before the convention is happening. So something was amiss. The authors and vendors were informed that they would be able to meet, and there would be at least 500 attendees, most 1,000 attendees, which is a great turnout for a new convention. It's a really good turnout for a new convention, but they were pleasantly surprised when they found out just how off those numbers were. The first day of the convention, May 2nd, a Friday, there were only about 30 convention attendees. 30 out of 500 minimum. So it was definitely like a bit of a shock that these people were promised such high numbers and there was such a significant less amount, to say in a nice way. And usually on Fridays and Sundays of a convention, it has the lower attendance rates because people travel back on Sundays. Fridays people are still at work. Saturday is usually like the really popular day. So, but again, dropping to 30 from 500 minimum is a pretty significant drop. So that was a red flag immediately. On day 2 of the convention, May 3rd, there was about 80 people at most seen at the convention. 80. That's not even half of 500, girl. Where is everybody? Again, authors, vendors, they were like, something is weird. This is not what we were promised. And somebody's lying. The content creation room that was promised in each tier of the badge also had its fair share of issues. It was an empty room, so no like seats, no ring lights, no tripods. You just pulled up and there it was. And the room was also closed on Saturday, which for tier 1 badges, that was the only day that they got access to that room, and it was closed. Huh? Authors and vendors reported losing thousands of dollars. They basically could not make table, and for those who don't know what making table means, when an author, an artist, a vendor, when they buy a table at a convention, making table means that you're making the money back that you spent on the table. Authors and vendors did not make table. They barely made enough for parking. That's crazy. A lot of the vendors and authors said that they barely made any money back. It's not cheap to attend as somebody who is funding their own business. So a lot of money was lost. A lot of money was lost. It also was said that there were more vendors and authors than actual guests and like attendees and con-goers. So you saw more people selling merchandise than people actually coming to buy the merchandise. It was also said the convention hall was very, very empty with no guests, really nowhere to sit. Communication, we gotta talk about that. So I have paneled at conventions before. I know a thing or two about communicating with panelists and the people that are running the panels at conventions, as in like the convention staff that help run panels. The biggest thing about running a panel with a convention is communication. You need to communicate with panelists, you need to communicate with the team running the panels at the convention, and you need to make sure everything is in order. Whenever I panel at a convention, the panel team and I, we talk about times for the panel, dates to run the panel, how many people I'll be paneling with, what would be the best setup, do I need microphones, do I need seats, whatever. It's very dire because panels, that's essentially free entertainment from just a passionate, you know, person with an idea giving free entertainment at a convention. Convention staff wants to make sure that the panelist is comfortable and has everything they need in order to run their event smoothly. And it just blows my mind that panelists were not communicated with. Panels, they had only found out information about the convention through social media, not through emails. That's so unprofessional. Can you imagine if if I found out that like information about my panel when everybody else found out before I got to find out privately through email, I'd be frustrated. Panelists, they get emailed a rough version of a schedule before it's officially published in case any changes were made. None of that was communicated with panelists, and I find that so absurd. As a active panelist at conventions, I'm blown away that that was even happening. Another issue was that panelists were not given tables and were not given chairs. So the panel hosts were sat on a floor presenting their panels, and panel goers, attendees, sat on the floor. Can you imagine walking around all day and being asked to sit on the floor? Can you imagine being a cosplayer having to be asked to sit on the floor? Because a lot of cosplayers don't like sitting on the floor to not mess up their outfit. It's so frustrating. I even saw performers, like singers, sitting on the floor at this convention, performing sitting on the floor. Like, good for them. Like, good for these panelist performers still pulling off what was promised to their attendees. But I would be so mad. I'd be embarrassed. That's not fair. Because again, panelists are essentially giving the convention free entertainment in compensation for a badge. I would be humiliated. I would be frustrated. All of the above. It was also said that there were no signs around the convention. At every convention I've been to, there has been signage of like, here's where panels are, here's the artist alley, here's where the like convention staff is in case you need help. Like, in my experience, if I've never been to a convention before, I rely on those signs. I rely on having those signs to help me direct on where to go, as well as a map, but I'm focusing on the signs right now. This convention had no signs, so you were just guesstimating on where things were, guesstimating on when things would happen, so on and so forth, which is insane to me. Every convention I go to, they always take the feedback of more signage and really push it. At KagaraCon this year, not only did they have signs, they had balloons tied to the sign so you could find the sign. There were signs for the signs. There's also no schedule. No schedule at a convention? That's crazy to me. So the schedule is also rumored that it kept changing. There were no physical printouts of the schedule. I, at every convention, collect the physical printout of the event's like booklet. And the fact that there was not even a printed schedule, but the fact that the panels kept changing and times kept changing, I'm somebody that I like to set up my day. I like to write out the panels I want to go to, the times and places, and usually panels have everything set in stone the week leading up to the event. And convention staff has everything set in stone the week leading up to the event. I just don't understand how they thought it was okay to just let things continue changing on the fly the day of the event and not have everything set in stone and not let people pull out, not let people change times. At a lot of conventions that I go to, if you do not show up the time of your panel, if you do not show up at least an hour to check in before, your panel is canceled and you're blacklisted from paneling at that event again. So it's crazy that they just kind of let this stuff fly. And as a convention goer, I'd be extremely frustrated. As a panelist, I'd be frustrated because then my panel is being messed up, and it's just not. It's not a good experience, to say the least. There was also said that there was no physical badges given. That's crazy to me. Badges not only are a fun little trinket to take home with you from the convention, but it helps staff know that you paid to be there. You are meant to be at this convention and you did not sneak into the event. Badges, like, a lot of people get annoyed when staff is constantly asking you to have your badge out and check your badge, but they're doing it for a reason. They're making sure you didn't sneak in, they're making sure you're meant to be there, and they're making sure that their numbers are correct for their event. I would be stressed out if I was a convention goer, and I would be annoyed if people were I was a convention goer just seeing people sneak in to this event without having to pay. Meanwhile, I paid for this convention at least maybe $50 to attend the event, but somebody just snuck in for free because you don't have physical badges to check if they're meant to be here. What? Not even like a sticker, a bracelet, nothing. There was nothing. That blows me away, dude. That blows me away. So there was a specific author that I read about that spoke about this event firsthand. Her name is, excuse me if I'm saying it wrong, Callista Neath. She is a romantic dark fantasy author. She seems to have a very established name in the book writing author sphere. She wrote books like Invoking the Blood, A Trial of Lace and Bone, so on and so forth. And she was highlighted as like a premium type guest. Like she was highlighted as like, she's one of our big names attending. So a lot of hype around it. The author said that she was invited to the event as a featured author over a year before the event occurred, which is not anything crazy. Usually I'm sure that in order to make time in the author's or guest's schedule, that they're asked a very large amount of time beforehand so they can make time in their schedule for the event. So that didn't really stick out to me as anything crazy. The authors were promised to stay at a nearby Hilton Hotel. Girl, Hilton Hotel for free. Period. Put me there. But apparently authors were, instead of being placed in a nice hotel, were placed in a motel across the street from the event. They were placed in a Days Inn motel. No offense to motels, but if I was promised a very nice hotel and placed in a motel, hey, I'm gonna be a little salty. The Callista had apologized to her readers because she stressed how an author has their readers' trust. Just like how an influencer has their audience's trust, a musician has their fans' trust, a game developer has their fandom's trust, so on and so forth. A creator always has the trust of the people that are following them, and that's a very, very careful trust to foster and take care of. And the fact that she encouraged her audience and her readers to attend this event, to come meet her and experience the event, and the event was a complete flop and it was a complete disaster, she felt horrible and she apologized. And she apologized that this event did not meet her expectations nor the expectations of readers and attendees and so on and so forth. I remember there was a convention last year I attended that I really encouraged my followers to attend because it was the first year I was running and I had the honor of attending as a panelist, and I hosted 2 panels back to back. The convention was a disaster. The panels were a disaster. They did not run as smoothly as they are meant to, and I was really embarrassed. I was humiliated because I was so excited, and I really was, excited to invite my friends to see one of my panels for the first time and everything like that. And it was just a disaster. And I so sorry to my friends and my followers that came out to that event to see the panels and to say hi, because it's like, it was a bad experience for everybody involved. And so I understand Callista's frustration with that, because that's not cool. We need to talk about the ball. We need to talk about the ball. The ball. It was known as the Lavender Romance Ball. And again, it's supposed to be like a Barbie type thing where you dress up, look really pretty, look really handsome, look really whatever. and you're just feeling yourself, and you're getting to essentially play the part of a character in a romance fantasy novel. Who doesn't want that? First things first, the ballroom. It was a barren basement. It looked like we were in the back rooms, girl. The back rooms. It was empty, no decorations, very scattered, weird seats that kind of looked like you were in an office meeting. There was a JBL speaker sat on a chair in like the corner of the room as the DJ. I've never attended a convention like rave or dance party, but there's always an actual proper DJ, or there's like really big amplified speakers to play the music, and maybe even like, if we're feeling fancy, like a screen for visuals. The fact that this very high-end event had a JBL speaker and no decorations, nothing to really immerse yourself into the event, was really a slap in the face and very appalling, especially again for the highest tier paying for this, about $250. That's disgusting. That is really, really gross. People came dressed in literally the cutest outfits, the most gorgeous outfits, ball gowns, looked like they were getting ready for prom, and they were just let down by being plopped in a basement with a JBL speaker. And it's said that the JBL speaker came from a security guard who felt so bad that people were having such a bad experience that he brought his speaker to play music, which, you know what, I'll give some credit to the security where it's due, because at least he tried something. So if that story is true, good on them. That is supposed to be the highlight event of the convention weekend, and it was one of the most jacked up parts of the event, and one of the most infamous and one of the most made fun of parts. I'm so sorry to everybody who attended this event, because it's like, again, as a seasoned convention goer, I would just be disgusted. The head of the convention, she went on TikTok and kind of gave the most like nonchalant apology. She was saying that she's sorry about the ball, not the event, not the entire convention, just the ball. And she was like, it didn't go as planned. It was rough to kind of pull off. And she said, if you want a refund, reach out to me. Here's the thing, you should be promising all of your attendees, especially the highest tier attendees, a refund, because the entire weekend didn't go as it's supposed to, not just the ball. How are you just gonna refund people like selectively? Just take the L, just take the loss. It's like the idea of the refund being kind of just like, if you want it, not something that's just guaranteed to your guests and your attendees. That's disgusting. That's disgusting. So I wanted to take a look at some TikToks that I found from the event to kind of just like talk about what happened and see some like first person perspective. Because I need to show you guys what I'm seeing, because I'm still so blown away at how this event was ran, dude.
Here we are at the Million Lives Ball.
So this is a video of the ball itself. It's so barren, so empty, so like cold looking. And the JBL speaker, I was not lying to you, girl. She's there, that JBL speaker.
We had a glass of alcohol each. Paid $10 for my glass of wine.
$10 for wine.
And how much did you pay for yours? Was it $13? $13 for her old-fashioned whiskey or cocktail that she got. Just so unprofessional to the point where I don't think that I'm going to be in the October event. I'm going to pull. I'm going to get my money back. It's just,
I don't know if this is confirmed, but from what I'm hearing, there's also an October event for this convention. I don't know if this author means like a general, there's an event happening in October she's pulling from, or this event is happening again in October. But like if this convention has the balls to happen again, you know what, good on them for the confidence, I guess.
It's not worth my time to be doing this again. Yeah, this was something.
This was another video of the actual ball. And like, look how pretty she looks in her red dress. And then we get to the event. Empty chairs. No decorations. It looks like the back room. There's the JBL speaker on the chair again. It's just like, I'm blown away. It blows me away. $250 for this ball, just for it to look like that. I can't. I would be fuming if this was my money thrown away like this by this convention. Because they obviously had enough money to pay for these big time names, pay for this venue. They could have spared a couple, like, speakers, a couple decorations. Like, Party City just went out of business. You could have bought something real cheap from them. Like, there's no effort, there's no love. This just feels like it was just a money trick. So this is what the vendor's alley kind of looked like. And you can see that they also were told the 500 to 1,000 attendees. It's empty, it's pathetic looking, and I feel so horrible for those vendors and authors. Bro, so much money from these people. I'm gonna cry. I think this was the ball of the event. Again, look at these pretty people. This like table setup. Looks like we're about to have a business meeting and talk about like taxes or something. It's insane. Good to the people that still attended, because I would have walked in and walked right out and just cried. So this was a panelist. And as you can see,
unique.
She's like, there's no chairs, we're waiting, and if there's no chairs, unique experience. I am so sorry, girl. Nobody should have that experience. Coming from a seasoned panelist, nobody should have that experience. My apologies.
Big finale. We're just rolling. How many book events can you go to and say, you know what, I sat on the floor and listened to a crowd of narrators?
She doesn't know it yet, but no matter how hard she tries to salvage this book event's finale panel, 48 hours this event will make news and magazine headlines as the Bookish Fire Festival, causing severe financial loss to 100 plus authors, narrators, vendors, and attendees. It's just crazy. And as these comments are saying, like, good to her for still keeping a positive mental attitude, still putting the panel on, still having, you know, people come in and just listen, speak, and converse with others. I would definitely still do that as a panelist, but I would still be like, at the end of the day, I would just be at a loss for words. And I'm at a loss for words now, and I didn't even attend this event. I didn't even know what was happening. So this was one of the performers, and they were giving an example of like their past performances, obviously big stage, speakers, visuals. And then we cut to this convention. Performing on the floor with an iPad and a guitar. These panelists, musicians, authors, vendors deserve so much more. And I really hope that they can make the money back. I really hope they get their refunds and just like, oh God. Look at these people dressed up for the ball. They look so pretty. I'm horrified. Another part of the the ball. There's not even a balloon, bro. Not even a balloon. Not a streamer. Nothing. Nothing. Oh my God. Not even like ambient lighting. Nothing. Bro, $250 for this. $250 for this.
I'm waiting for the Uber to go to the fantasy ball, and I'm standing in the corner looking like this, which is interesting. All right, so I guess let's do this.
The only thing enchanting here are the amazing authors and readers who made the best of a bad situation. She looks so pretty. Dude, it looks like they're in like an office space having a meeting about like, I don't even know. I need to stop here because girl, I'm frustrated for these people. So sorry to all the authors that attended, both indie and authors with established followings. I'm so sorry to all the vendors and the attendees that attended this event, because I'm just at a loss for words. When there's a new convention, please do as much research as you can. please just be careful and look out for very like red flag signs. And I hope that this video kind of highlighted some red flags. But that does not mean completely deter yourself from new conventions. Always, again, give new conventions a shot, but make sure to research is what I'll say. This is a fun video. Probably the longest one I've posted yet. But I do want to say thank you for 200 subscribers. On a more positive note, thank you for 200 subscribers. Crazy. I'm having so much fun with this whole YouTube thing, and I feel like I would love to do more videos like this, kind of just talking about topics that are kind of in the same sphere that I'm involved in. And yeah, here's to more YouTube videos, and I hope you continue to support my silly content. At the end of the day, please just have a fun con season. Conventions are so much fun nonetheless, and the people that you go with really make it a better experience. So that's all, I guess. Bye!
What will it take just to find that special day?